This is now, today is now the next day after. The dyno was yesterday. And this is how the car is now. I'm gonna have to take out when we was going to drive the car up onto the dyno, the clutch started to smoke like crazy, and then the mechanic at the shop removed the starter, and then we saw inside and it was all burnt and it was really hot, like it has been a fire inside the clutch house. And I don't know how it is for 1.8 turbos engines in an all-wheel drive in general, but in my setup I need to take out both the engine and the gearbox, because that's actually more easy than to just try to take out the gearbox. So everything has to come out. And when I walked in here today, just now, still smell like clutch in here. One side is done. Most of the stuff in the engine bay, I think, is like not connected to the engine anymore, like the harness, line for the catch tank, fuel line, intercooler piping, of course, radiator, the clutch, exhaust is off. Yeah, the CV axles is off, since the Mk1 chassis does not, you cannot remove this front panel. So I think original the engine and gearbox was taken from the top, I think, but most people, when they put in a bigger engine and a bit bigger gearbox, they take it from the bottom. So what I have to do is I have to take the engine, lower it down onto, like this, engine and gearbox onto this, lower it down, and then I have to raise the chassis up, and then I can move the engine and gearbox to the side, and then it's out. That will be next. So this is kind of how it looks when I'm taking the gearbox and engine out. So what I'm gonna do now, make sure the engine and gearbox sits on this called dolly, like this. I'm gonna make sure it sits properly on this so it doesn't fall over. Then I'm gonna disconnect this from the gearbox and engine, and I'm gonna tie it around. I have like proper, it's called some proper lifting ropes. I don't know what it's called. You're gonna see, you're gonna recognize. Around here and here, and lift the chassis up. And yeah, as I said, shove the engine and gearbox out on the side. So now the engine is out and the car is back on the jack stands, and I'm gonna disassemble the engine from the gearbox. I just need to find the proper way to do it, because now the engine is kind of not falling over because it is attached to the gearbox. the way it sits now. So maybe I will connect the hoist to the engine just to like support it from the top so it will not fall over. I can show you, some people haven't seen the engine bay. I can show you the engine bay. When I bought the car, I've said this a million times, I think. It feels like I said this a million times. When I bought the car, it had a VR6 in it, but it was not running. The engine gearbox was only put in the chassis. And the previous owner had made his own mounts, like engine mount and gearbox mount. Did not use the stock location. And then he had like the rear mount, like the Mark 2 and 3, which goes from the engine kind of here and then back. So it was like some mounts back here. I got it running and working and used it for one season, and then I found out I want to build my dream car, kind of one of the dream car list, and it's all-wheel drive Mark 1. And in Norway it's really difficult to come by VR6 gearboxes, so that's why it's easier to get like 1.8 turbo gearboxes, and relatively easy to get a hold of. Even S3 gearboxes is usually not a problem to come by. So that's why I chose the 1.8 turbo, and it makes more sense when it comes to weight distribution. Anyway, so I have these are from the S3 Mark, or the Mark. I cut it from the S3, but it's the same on the Mark 4 Golf. This mount, and I made some plate and welded it on. So I have this. Golf Mark 4 engine mount. And what I was going to, before all the rambling, the reason why I have this is because the previous owner cut away the stock engine mount. So then I decided I would try to do this, and if not, I would weld in the stock one. But I like this. And for the underneath, I have the mount for the dog bone. The dog bone, it's the mount that goes from underneath the gearbox and back towards the bulkhead. On this it's the bulkhead, but on the Mark IV it's the subframe. For the gearbox mount, I use the stock location with Epitech engine mount. And if I had the stock engine mount, I would also use Epitech mounts for this side. I think it would make things a lot easier. Because when I use this, I also had to make this, like the engine side, because of the distance between the engine and like the support beam is too close. You see, if you noticed, some of the people who build cars Mark 1, at least one guy I think, or a few guys who builds Mark 1 and they put like bigger engine in it, maybe like 5-cylinder or maybe even 1.8 turbos. They cut away parts of this and make it more. They cut away parts of this and make it more like more narrow to be able to fit the stock mount on the engine. So this is how it looks. I will also take a few pictures and post it on Instagram. So if you want, you can check out my Instagram and then see the pictures. I don't think there's anything else I'm gonna do in the engine bay at the moment. I'm more curious to see the clutch. Now we're going to be able to see a bit of what happened today. I guess the camera doesn't capture it very well. There is looks like what you have in the white particles from when you have been let's say you have a fireplace, when it's like calmed down and everything is burned out, you have this white powder. That's what it looks like inside of the clutch house. Pahana. It's kind of possible to see these what I'm talking about here. Like, I haven't been disassembling many gearboxes before, but I don't think, or many clutch houses, but I don't think it's supposed to be like this. So this is the verdict. Verdict. This is how it looks. So here we have the clutch. You can see, I don't know what we can see. There's been a lot of heat, is what we can see. I have a double mass because this is 100% stock stuff. Maybe all of this comes from when the car was new, like built in everything. This may be all be from 2002 when the engine and the gearbox and all was like new, from all I know. So I will need a dual mass, like I have a dual mass flywheel, and I would like to have single mass flywheel, but I don't know the price, and I guess maybe I can buy like a stock 180 single mass flywheel. Of course the optimal would be like alloy flywheel would be the optimal, but again, cost. So we will see. So I'm gonna end the video here, and thank you for watching. Bye. Just a quick before I end this video, the clutch, like Eric looked at the clutch, and apparently I don't know this because I haven't looked at many, but apparently the clutch looks fine, which I couldn't see anything like wrong with it. But he said the flywheel is actually the one who caused all of this problems. It looks like, or it sounds like, there is some kind of liquid to this double mass flywheel. Probably that's what caused the problem. So yeah, now we know. And since this is the last video before Christmas, Merry Christmas, and see you next time. Bye.